When I am not nursing my babies, I don't drink water. I just survive off oxygen and, you don't want that in the camera. I just survive off oxygen and coffee and whole fat milk. I want to give a solid prepper on what it is like going from Protestant to Catholic and some things to keep in mind or just prepare for mentally and emotionally and spiritually and all of the things if you are starting to ask questions or you dare to start asking questions in your social circles, especially those among like the Protestants and in the agnostics. I remember when, of course I remember it was like 2 weeks ago, Candace Owens mentioned that Charlie Kirk was on a spiritual journey. And do y'all remember all of the Protestants coming out of the woods, just angry and just trying to destroy Candace Owens and Catholicism, specifically Catholicism, all over again, tale as old as 500-ish years, give or take a few. Because the idea that their golden boy of evangelicalism going into Catholicism is just like such a betrayal for them. And it loses them integrity, honestly, and the reputation that they like to think they have of being logical and rational and blah, 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 blah. There is a reason, okay, that someone like Charlie Kirk would be praying the rosary, going to Mass, okay, meeting with Bishop Barron. Just the Bishop Barron thing, it's like, that's not that big of a deal. But the Mass and the rosary, I don't know how delulu you have to be to try and convince yourself that surely that person is solid in his Protestant faith. When you are a Protestant, and I didn't realize this, so not at the beginning, I was an idiot. I got kicked out of my church really early in my journey because I didn't know. Okay, but when you are a Protestant who starts to doubt their Protestant roots, the foundation of Protestantism, you start to stir up trouble real quick, whether you mean to or not. And I didn't know this going into it. I did figure it out early. So I want you to know that if you are asking questions, either keep it to yourself and the internet, or just know that there's a lot of heat coming your way, okay? There is a reason someone like Charlie Kirk, with all of the influence that he has in the evangelical circles, in the evangelical Protestant circles, wouldn't come out. Do you remember when people used to come out as gay? You're coming out as Christian, and actually even more so Orthodox Christian, would not come out as Catholic or Catholic interested, Catholic curious, okay? Because you see the reaction that Protestants have in hearing that someone like him might actually be considering or leaning towards Catholicism. You don't want that heat. You don't want that drama. And you can tell that you would want to avoid stirring up all that trouble. Excuse me, my dog is at the door. I have to go let her in. Good Lord. Come here, Nezzy. There you go. Okay. You will stir up trouble in any social circle you have if you start to go towards Catholicism. And I do mean every social circle. There was not a single person or group in my life that was receptive to me doubting some of the things I was, and then even, being really interested in Catholicism. No one likes the Catholic Church, okay? And I didn't know that. I went in just thinking like, oh, this is just another form of Christianity that surely everyone would be chill Everyone about. Hates the Roman Catholic Church. And that hate might come out immediately, which it did in my case at my church. I mean, it was probably like 2.5 months of asking questions that I was removed. Now, do I think that that's prophetic? Do I think that that is an assurance of the fullness of the Christian faith being found in Catholicism, that like the Orthodox don't like them, the Protestants don't like them, my atheist, secular, progressive friends don't like them? yeah, I think it's spiritual. And that's going to annoy a lot of people. But I'm like, I have never, and I don't mean this in a complaining way, but I've never been in so much conflict just for like stating something from the catechism or being like, oh yeah, I believe like NFP is like the most like pure way to approach the intimate relationship in your marriage, and then just be met with like absolute vitriol from like trad types, you would think, like people who are conservative and people who are like pro-family, but they're not Catholic. No, okay, if you are Catholic and you believe, or you're interested in Catholicism, right? Like my husband and I are going through OCIA right now. People don't like that. And so if you're Charlie Kirk and you're coming out as, or you're praying the rosary and you're actually saying we should venerate Mary and we should probably pay a little bit better attention to her, then people get really, really upset. Imagine being best friends with the most anti-Catholic on the internet outside of like James White, Allie Beth Stuckey. She's having Mike Gendron on, who is like the most propagandist joke, like non-scholar on Christianity that I've ever seen. She's having that guy on and is also really good friends with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk would know better than to come out as interested in Catholicism. And so I say all that to say, when you start asking questions, okay, when you start acting interested, when you start being like, oh, Gregorian chants are kind of cool, or oh, I think Mary might have something more for me than just being the mother of God, you find out really quickly, either immediately or maybe it takes a little bit of time, but you do find out that it is not socially acceptable to move towards that direction. And so you back off, all right? You shut up. I have a very big personality, if you can't tell. I'm very opinionated. I am strong-willed, as people like to say. I still don't even really know. Like, don't we all have a will? Calvinists would be like, no, you don't. But I, as an extroverted type who doesn't really care that often what people think, especially not these days, even I have learned to really keep the like 90% of what I've read, watched, been really excited about, I keep it in. Because people, you think like, oh, I read this the other day, or I heard this the other day. Oh, did you know this is an argument that like Aquinas made? Oh, did you know that Augustine said this? And you think that you're just like sharing fun, exciting information about Christianity, and people immediately go into like really aggressive debate mode, or they start throwing random like insults towards the faith, or they start like taking jabs at mass, and you're just like, wow, I didn't expect this. And there's just immediate hostility from all sides, the Protestant sides, the agnostic types, the secular, progressive types, like they all kind of align. They have their own little allyship. The LGBTQs have their thing, and then everyone else has their like allyship against Catholicism. It's super interesting, but it can take you aback, okay? So just expect a little bit of pushback, and remember that this faith is between yourself and your family and God. And that, like, something that encouraged me is when I started going into the Catholic faith and asking questions, right, before OCIA, before all of that, before my husband, like when my husband was like, no, this is not going to happen, right? I had the saints, and because I wasn't in the church, and I wasn't taking the Eucharist, right? I still haven't, because we will on Easter, but that wasn't even a possibility to me. That wasn't even in my future. Like, I had already started praying to God, like, if this is the burden you've given me, Lord, like, let me wear it with, like, humility. Don't be that naggy wife to my husband. And so I was already accepting that and asking for the intercession of the saints. Like, if Polycarp and Ignatius could be thrown to the lions, okay, literally in like their 70s and 80s, then I think I can handle a little bit of family heat when it comes to going into Catholicism, or just like, having a marital disagreement. So when you start asking for the saints to help you, and you start praying to them, you start going to Mary for comfort and for her intercession, that grows you spiritually in ways that will, I think, strengthen you for the rest of your Catholic journey. And so go to the saints. At times you're going to feel really lonely. At times you're going to feel, the hostility and wondering like, wow, am I ever going to get there? Am I ever going to get to the church? You do have access to her through the saints, her meaning the church. And you do have access to her through Mary. Like, remember that like Jesus Christ, he is the head of the church. Okay. He started her church, and he said the gates of hell will not prevail against her. So that's the church that you are headed towards. That is the church that you are praying for. Like, the Lord will honor that. And you have the saints in heaven, and you have the saints who have been martyred, and you have the Blessed Virgin Mary. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, I think I'll leave it there. It makes sense. Like, hopefully you can understand why. There are probably a lot of Protestants out there who are in the same journey, but they've shut up because, again, people are not receptive to this. And there are probably Protestants out there in positions of power and great influence who are friends with an Ally Beth Sucky type. Maybe they're not even going full Catholic, but they're interested in the Lent, and they're interested in the intercession of the saints, or they're interested in the veneration of Mary, and they're all big no-nos. Actually, the Lutherans are cool with the veneration of Mary, but everything else, big no-no. So hopefully that's just a good prepper. But yes, like, comment, subscribe, all of the things if you're interested in more about this and the journey of going through OCIA, or some of the things I've been learning and unlearning. Sounds so dramatic, but anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go. I have to go get my babies, as per usual. Stay at home mom first.